Hello everyone, thanks for joining MeteoMark's Weather. I'm meteorologist Mark Molnar. Welcome to the channel, everyone. We have a lot to talk about with the tropics here. We're going to be starting off with not only a big surge of tropical wave action over the next week or two, especially as we get closer to August, but we're also going to see a big surge of tropical moisture here across the Gulf, Central America, and the U.S. East Coast. And it's going to head well inland as well, as you can see here towards next week, the 23rd, all the way through the 28th. We're going to be looking at a constant stream of tropical moisture traversing across the entire Atlantic into eastern North America. And we'll take a look at all your severe weather updates. Let's get into it. All right, so the tropics. Hello, everybody in the Caribbean, Central America, Gulf Coast, East Coast, wherever you are here. Wherever you're watching from here in the tropics, we are looking ahead here to see if any of these pose any major problems here with the tropical waves. So as we get out here, there's the intertropical convergence zone. It looks pretty strong out here, but I can say the dust, it's being picked up here on the European model. I'll show you the GFS really does pick up the dust pretty readily here. But here's some tropical wave action as we head into Friday here across Jamaica. Let me just zoom out just a hair here so you can really see the high pressure, the big old Bermuda high, and that's going to remain anchored. But look what's happening here. We got a surge of tropical moisture here across Central America, and that is just going to continue northwestward here as we head throughout the week and into the weekend. And you can see, look at this. We're just surging it all the way up here into the Gulf Coast and Southeast Coast. Here's our intertropical convergence zone out here looking pretty potent. Being put in check, though, by the dust. And I'll go over where the dust is going to be setting up. It's pretty well socked in just to the north of the intertropical convergence zone here. But as we get towards the 21st, look what's happening here. You can really get a sense of, some big tropical waves. Even one here into the Western Gulf, one just south of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. And that's going to continue northwest here. This is the 21st, by the way. Bahamas are actually really going to get some rain out of this too. I'll go over those tropical rainfall totals momentarily, but this right out here is catching your eye. Look at this. The European model's been trying to close this low off. Now, I don't think it has any really good chance in the short term, but look at this as we continue in time towards the 23rd. It tries to hold on here. There's some dust just to the north here that's causing some issues with it. But look at the Gulf and the Southeast Coast, the Bahamas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico here, Dominican Republic. We're really going to start to surge this moisture. We basically have a double barrel Bermuda high here. So all this moisture has no choice but to go around this. And look at this. As we head towards the 24th, it's just going to continue to get worse here. South of the Cape Verde Islands here, we got several huge tropical waves. And look at the moisture. Even though these don't look like strong tropical waves, this is a lot of moisture moving through here. And if any of these thunderstorm complexes hang out for a while over some very warm water and lower wind shear environment, depending on where they are, you could definitely get a spin up. Now look at this. We got some big tropical waves out here just spinning, and look at all this tropical moisture. Even Mexico here, you're getting a surge of moisture like a monsoon pattern here. In Central America, you are socked in as well. Look at this. Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, you'll be getting showers, it seems like, every day next week. And look at, wow, 25th here. Big wave just south of the Cape Verde Islands, one southeast of Trinidad Tobago. We have a big one out here in the north. It's really hard to differentiate. Look at all the cloud cover and precipitation here, and look at eastern Texas. This surge, you're going to be getting a surge not just from the Gulf, but Mexico and the eastern Pacific here, where there is a chance of development. But look at that. There's like an endless stream. The European model's been going crazy with this. And as we just continue to go out here in time, you see the whole East Coast socked in here July 25th. But look at this out here. This is pretty ominous. We'll have to keep an eye on this, as well as a few of these waves. Jamaica and the Cayman Islands getting a little break here towards the middle of next week, but that's short-lived. Look at this. Yeah, if we zoom in just a little bit here, gives us a very good perspective. Look at this. Look at these big tropical waves. And all of this moisture associated with them is just going to continue to propagate towards the Gulf and the southeast coast and even Central America. As we head towards the 27th, look at this. I would not be surprised if we cross over, the end of this last week of July into the beginning of August, if we have one of these tropical waves try to spin up here. Because things really start to, you can see the intertropical convergence zone has come a bit further to the north here by the 28th. So we got some big waves out here just northeast of the Lesser Antilles, and this tropical moisture just continues. So we have to keep a close watch on this. And before we continue, and don't forget, if you've made it this far in the video, smash that like button if you like this video. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. Keeps our weather community active. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe so you're alerted with all my latest weather videos coming out. And if you're new to the channel, welcome as always. Let's continue. All right, so as we get into the GFS model here, you can see there it is. I wanted to show you this because you can see all that dust just hanging out here. It's showing up as just some low and mid-layer cloudiness there. And you can see there's the intertropical convergence zone south of it. Interesting here, we have a double barrel low as we head on into the weekend. Here's the 22nd, and you can start to see, even on the GFS here, there's that surge of tropical moisture starting. And intertropical convergence zone looks crazy active. We got some showers hanging out here across Central America, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, as we head through early next week. And then as we head through the 24th here, you can see this leading edge here looks like some dust. So we're going to start to see some dust action, but look at this big old wave out here south of the Cape Verde Islands. We'll have to keep a close watch on this because the trends have been more towards the European model here, even on the GFS. And look at this. Yeah. Intertropical convergence zone bumping a little bit to the north here. That could impact, though, these waves as they head into some very dusty conditions. You can see the dust making it through the Lesser Antilles here at this point, the midpoint of next week. But there's that high pressure system. It's building a little bit further to the south here on the GFS, but we have constant stream of tropical moisture just around the western periphery of this high pressure system. And look at that, the dust being pushed pretty far to the south here as we head towards the 25th, and moisture just continuing through the Caribbean all the way into the Gulf and up the U.S. East Coast here. So high pressure continuing to build west here towards the 26th. You can see moisture all the way up here into the eastern third of North America. Big wave hanging out around Nicaragua and a few waves hanging out here. It's one thing to note that GFS goes a little crazy here with the dust and kind of tones things down. So it's an interesting solution here. The European goes crazy with the tropical moisture, but here's the last frame on the GFS right around the 27th. Cape Verde Island south of you, you're going to be looking at a big tropical wave. Central America, big tropical wave as well, and we have to watch these stalled frontal boundaries off the U.S. East Coast for potential development. So thanks for Tropical Tidbits here. Here's the GFS. We're taking a look at mid-layer dry air analysis here essentially is the big dust plume. And let's see how well it shows up here on this version of the GFS. Look at this. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits here. Look at this. We have the big intertropical convergence zone as we head through July 24th here. But you can see on the GFS, look how far to the west that dust is getting here into the Eastern Caribbean. Now look at this. Yeah, the European model is not over-exaggerating on moisture here because even the GFS goes crazy here. That is intense. And, you know, with all this dust out here, the moisture has to go somewhere. And it's essentially going into the Gulf and up the eastern third of North America. And as we get toward, look at this. This looks like a little vortex out here towards the 28th. This is like a spin of dust out here with this big high pressure system. But there's the intertropical convergence zone still looking active. All right, so here's our European model. Yeah, the dust is showing up very well here on the Euro as well. And intertropical convergence zone is kind of sandwiched right in between here. This mid-layer dry air with some of this dust. But look at this. As we get towards Sunday the 21st, you still have some showers and moisture here into the Western Caribbean. But look what's coming in right behind it here. This massive mid-layer dry air dust. And that continues. Now look what's behind it here. The European has been wanting to close this, try to at least close this low off southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. And it's something we'll have to keep a watch on here right around July 22nd. But look at how the dust really starts to do its work here. And Europeans actually showing, wow, dust actually getting into Central America here as well. Big bushes of mid-layer dry air here. But you can see, look at the common theme. We're sandwiching that moisture and pushing it right into eastern North America. It's got to go somewhere, and this is where it's going, essentially. So as we head towards July 28th, just like we did on the GFS here, still very powerful intertropical convergence zone out here and tremendous amount of tropical moisture up the U.S. East Coast here. And sea surface temperature analysis, I have to say the Gulf and the Caribbean are recovering from, the upwelling from Beryl, because now we're warming up very fast. Now, look at this. Even the U.S. East Coast, all those heat waves are really doing their work with warmer sea surface temperatures. You know what else is doing its work? The dust. Look what it's doing out here. So it's going to really put a dent, at least, in the Cape Verde season here. So getting into the Western Caribbean, Central America here through the weekend, you can see, 60 to 90 millimeters, 2 to 3 inches, and then we just continue to pile on throughout. This takes us through July 28th. Look at that surge of tropical moisture. Even the Cayman Islands and Jamaica, you'll see some scattered showers and thunder showers. It'll amount to about 35 to maybe even the eastern tip here of Jamaica up to 90 millimeters in some areas. So getting a solid 2 to as much as 4 inches in some of these areas. But most areas from the Cayman Islands and Jamaica will see that 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches at times. As we get into the Eastern Caribbean here, look at this. So as we head through the weekend into next week, it's mainly next week we're going to start to see that surge in tropical moisture. 40 to as much as 80 millimeters here, especially around Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, especially the northern Lesser Antilles. A little bit less here down towards Trinidad and Tobago. That's where you'd be 35 to as much as 60 millimeters. About 3/4 to 1.5 inches, but right up here into the Northeast Caribbean Islands, that's where you're going to see 60 to as much as 100 millimeters. You're going to get up towards the 2.5 to 4 inch range. And I wanted to say something about the Bahamas here. From the Turks and Caicos look continued dry here. You might see upwards of 30 to 35 millimeters of rain, about 1/2 inch of rain or less. But it's the northwest and central Bahamas. That's where you're going to see 50 to 100 millimeters, a solid 1.5 inches, close to 3 inches. And for our severe weather here, it's going to be across Nebraska and parts of South Dakota and parts of eastern Colorado, Wyoming, and northwestern Kansas here as we head throughout the day on your Friday here. The rest of this area, just generalized thunderstorms. And then as we get to the weekend here, we're going to look here into North Carolina and Southern Virginia here for that marginal risk of severe weather, damaging wind, large hail. You can't rule out all that. It's going to be a rough day here across parts of the mid-Atlantic. All right, so our future radar here, it was actually a wonderful day across much of, the western mid-Atlantic here, parts of the interior Northeast, the Midwest here, the plains. Yeah, there's been a lot less humidity here with this high-pressure system, but here across the Gulf Coast states, I'm not going to lie, a lot of you do need the rain down here. And, of course, we're getting continued rains up here into parts of North Carolina, South Carolina. And that's going to continue overnight here. Look at some of these hefty showers and thunderstorms spreading across the Outer Banks here towards 3 a.m. Here's the timestamp right up here, the date and the timestamp. This is the one you want to keep an eye on as we cruise through your future radar. Look at that. That's some good news. Friday, 10 a.m. This all moves off the coast, but look at this. You're getting some beneficial rain down here across the Gulf Coast. I know a lot of you actually do need the rain, and we're going to keep an eye on that because some of these could be some big gully washers. But here is the start. I mentioned it last video. The start of this big tropical moisture surge. Here it comes. So here in the Northeast, enjoy this over the weekend into early next week because this is going to be a thing as we head into next week. Now, it does make it as far north as the Southern Appalachians here, North Carolina again. So these areas as we head into the weekend, especially, we're going to watch for increased moisture here across the area, so be wary of it. As you see here, from the Gulf Coast region all the way up into parts of even eastern Pennsylvania and eastern New York here, we're going to be watching for that cruising up towards the northeast here. So watch out. This is our last couple frames as we head into Saturday afternoon. We might have some thunder showers as far north here as the mid-Atlantic into parts of the northeast, but up down here across the Gulf Coast and the Carolinas as well. And here we go, Derek Rentschler from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Severe thunderstorms on July 17th here. Clouds moving in from all directions. Yes, this has been the thing here across much of the northeast and mid-Atlantic with all of these storms that have a tendency to rotate. Even just the severe ones have been doing this lately, but really nice captures here, Derek. You can see all these clouds just moving in and that stormy conditions, and that's been, there it is from the right-hand corner of your screen to the left. Look at this, and then the left-hand screen. Look at this. That is crazy. This is what's been going on a lot, though, across much of the Northeast with these storm systems. These have been some very potent storm systems across the region, and you captured this really nicely here. Nice captures, Derek. So if we pick up where our HRRR model left off here with our European model. So here we go. As we head throughout the weekend, you can see where the tropical moisture is going to line up here. And we'll have some severe weather here across parts of the plains as well. We're going to continue to watch for that as we go out here in time. The big story, though, is going to be as we get into next week. Here's the 21st. So look what's happening. So that's why I told you to really enjoy it up here across the Midwest and the Northeast, because watch what really starts to happen here. You can see this across Texas, across all the Gulf Coast. Don't get me wrong, a lot of you do need the rain down here. Some of you have had a little too much, but most of you, from your comments on previous videos, actually do need the rain. So here it is towards the 23rd. You can actually see we get this surge of tropical moisture up here, just cruising on towards the mid-Atlantic, and we're going to start to see the Gulf really open up with moisture here. Look at this. This is the 23rd at 5 p.m. Literally, look at that. Florida is really socked in all the way through the Gulf Coast states, the Carolinas, even all the way up into the Northeast and New England here and the Ohio Valley. We're going to have a series of very slow-moving, stalled-out fronts interact with some of these tropical moisture and tropical waves. As we get into the 24th here, you can see, especially as the daytime heating really heats up, it's like a conveyor belt of moisture just heading right up through the eastern third of the country here. And that's just going to continue into the 25th here. You can see more heavy rains from eastern Texas all the way through the Gulf Coast areas. Florida picking up some beneficial rain. Look at these tropical waves out here that I mentioned in the tropical update. This is going to be a massive surge. You're going to be getting it from both the Gulf and off the southeast coast in the Atlantic. So, yeah, it's like the tropics really want to make their presence felt all the way up here into the Northeast as we head into the 25th. Look at that. Heading a little bit off the coast, but even on the 26th here, we're still socked in here. This is really crazy. We're going to have a period of very inclement weather across the region. Here's the 27th. We're just continuing with this problem. Here's that big old Bermuda high. So we're just going to continue to funnel this massive plumes of moisture right up through. And unfortunately, I can't really say you're going to get much out west here. You're just going to continue to bake. But look at back east here as we head towards the 28th. Here's our last frame. This moisture is just continuing. So here's our GFS for precipitation amounts. You can see most of it's across the Gulf Coast and the Southeast and the plains. As we head through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, look at this. So let's just take the week through the weekend first. Here, there we go. Let's stop it right there. So we're stopping late Sunday night, early Monday morning. There it is. It's mainly the Southeast where you're going to see 1.5 inches all the way up to 3 inches. The Outer Banks of North Carolina, I hate to say, probably 3+ inches as well. So let's continue here through next week. Look at the surge of moisture here. This is an area that's going to see 3 to as much as 8 inches. Crazy amounts. And even up here into the Ohio Valley and Northeast, you're going to see about 1.5 inches all the way up to 3.5 inches. And as we take a look at the European run here, this takes us through late Sunday, early Monday. There it is, the Outer Banks. We're getting upwards of 3 to 4, maybe 5 inches of rain here. And the rest of the southeast into the Gulf Coast areas, 1 to 2.5, maybe 3 inches in some isolated areas. Now, as we continue into next week, that just surges to the north. Look at, just like the GFS, the axis of heaviest precipitation runs from East Texas all the way to the mid-Atlantic. Look at this, New Jersey. I know some of you from New Jersey said that it was getting really dry, and now we have a chance of getting 3 to as much as 5 inches of rain. This is actually some good news for some people here. But look at the big area of 4 to 8 inches of rain. So we're going to look at some Canadian weather here. I have some good news. It's going to be pretty quiet for the most part, except if you're in northern provinces here. Parts of western southern Ontario, though, and Manitoba, you're going to have to deal with some shower and thunderstorm action as we head into your Friday, especially later Friday. It looks like a little bit out here into British Columbia, too. You do actually need the rain and maybe some mountain snow, though, but that'll be short-lived as we head into Sunday here. As you can see, later Saturday into Sunday, this low pressure winding it up across the Canadian Maritimes. We have a very dry low moving through the plains here, so watch out for some dry lightning strikes. It might kick off some rain here, but more likely than not, it's going to be one of those dry scenarios because you got high pressure just to your north here, and these low pressure systems just winding up here into upper level lows across the Canadian Maritimes. This is some great news, though. Look at next week. While the U.S. has some problems here with tropical moisture, look at this high building in across the eastern 2/3 of Canada. This is just beautiful, and it's going to provide you with some, like I said here, look at just south of the border. You got this tropical mess down here towards the 25th at 2 a.m. Look at this. This is just a big, beautiful high. So if you actually have a vacation to Canada next week, I envy you, because look at this. Unless you're down here into Toronto and Ottawa, where we may start to have some problems towards the 26th into the 27th. Look at that, though. You're just socked in across the northeast with inclement weather. But here across much of southeast Canada, with the exception for extreme southern Ontario, that's where we're going to have some problems. But even then, it's not going to be, amounting to much. And we got our next system out here bringing some beneficial rain, showers, and thunderstorms. Some of these could be strong across Manitoba here. All right, so the Western Pacific here. What is going on? Do we still have that feat? Yeah, this is interesting. Here it is. We're going to start right off into this. So there's a couple areas around the Philippines here. Just get your bearings here. You can see Taiwan here, the coast of China right here. Here's the northern Philippines, and look at our low here. There's actually 2 lows that we're going to keep an eye on here. So as we go throughout Friday into Saturday, look at our eastern low here really starts to initiate northeast of the Philippines, southeast of Taiwan. Look at how the European model is blasting this upward here. There's a couple different paths this could take. Here's another storm that we'll have to keep an eye on just south of Hong Kong as we head into July 21st here. Keep an eye. There's your timestamp and time up there. Look at this. The European model is intensifying this into not just a tropical storm, but a typhoon, taking it dangerously close to Taiwan here towards next week, the 23rd. And where it goes from there, it's a wild card. There's so many highly populated areas that could be involved in this. Here's Shanghai, here is South Korea, and here, of course, is the island chain of Japan. So by the 24th into the 25th, it's been wanting to take this right up along the Shanghai coastline here, which would be a major problem. And then right up here into the Yellow Sea. Look at that. Right, and then, of course, right up here into North Korea and China. So this would be a potential problem for Eastern Asia, but Japan and Taiwan, you're not completely out of the woods yet. And as we go out here in time, intertropical convergence zone remains pretty active out here, but that is our main feature. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. All right, so let's take a look at the heat wave breaking. This is some great news. Look at these 70s for the Ohio Valley. This is Friday, July 19th. This is the timestamp you want to keep an eye on up here. Look at this, 80s along the coast and even upper 80s here into the Carolinas. We're breaking, look at that, 80s down into the Gulf Coast near Louisiana. That's going to be some welcome air. Look at out here out west, though, hundreds everywhere. Look at the 70s. We're kind of moderating it here towards the mid-80s into the northeast as we get into Saturday. And here's Sunday. Look at that. Even across parts of the plains and the Midwest, we're down into the 70s. But look at this. Yeah, Pittsburgh, we're up near 90. As we head into Monday here, we're going to start to warm it up here. We're getting really close to 90 or eclipsing it in some spots. Down in here, parts of Florida's just basking in the 90s here. And look at it, all the way up to Washington State, you're in the hundreds here. And then as we get into Tuesday, July 23rd next week, we're kind of cooling it down a little bit here. Low to mid 80s with that heavier tropical moisture moving in. And we're even keeping it down a notch here. Upper 80s and low 90s here, Gulf Coast states, into Wednesday of next week. Yeah, look at how crazy this looks here. If I can get this off the screen here. There we go. You can see across much of the lakes in Northeast, upper 70s and lower 80s, and even 80s here along the Gulf Coast. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. So as we head throughout the Friday and the weekend, look at this. This is some nice sleeping weather down into the 50s. And look at this. We do have a slight chance of showers, maybe some thunderstorms on Saturday, but it's only like a 20% chance, mainly east of I-81. And those temperatures are going to be in the mid-80s, so not too bad. You know, Monday we'll start creeping it up towards the upper 80s. But as we get towards Tuesday, that's where that big tropical moisture surge will start. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.